They called him the Scourge of God, a warrior feared by Romans and barbarians alike. His name was Attila, and his empire shook the foundations of the ancient world. But what made him so unstoppable? Attila the Hun was one of the most feared leaders of the 5th century, bringing terror and destruction to both the Eastern and Western Roman empires. He led the Huns to the height of their power, challenging the might of Rome like no one else before. Born into a brutal world of nomadic warfare, Attila rose to power in the early 400s, uniting the Huns and turning them into a military powerhouse. His mastery of cavalry warfare and relentless invasions devastated cities across Europe, from the Balkans to Gaul. The Romans, once the most powerful empire on earth, were forced into humiliating treaties, paying Attila vast sums of gold to keep the peace. But he wasn't just a warrior. He was a master strategist who knew how to exploit the weaknesses of his enemies. In 451 AD, Attila made his boldest move yet, an all-out invasion of the Western Roman Empire. His forces clashed with a combined Roman and Visigothic army at the Battle of Chalon. This was one of history's most brutal battles, with tens of thousands perishing. But for the first time, Attila was forced to retreat. The tide had turned. Despite this setback, Attila still posed a massive threat. The next year, he invaded Italy, coming dangerously close to Rome itself. But an unexpected meeting with Pope Leo I convinced him to turn back. Was it diplomacy? Fear of disease? Or something more? No one knows for sure. Shortly after, in 453 AD, Attila died suddenly on his wedding night, and with him, the power of the Huns crumbled. With Attila gone, his empire fell into chaos. The once feared Huns vanished from history, leaving behind only legends of destruction and glory. Today, Attila is remembered as both a ruthless invader and a brilliant leader who nearly changed the course of European history forever. But what if history had gone differently? What if Attila had crushed the Roman forces at Chalon and marched into Rome as its new ruler? The Roman Empire might have collapsed centuries earlier, drastically altering the development of Europe. The power of the papacy, the rise of medieval kingdoms, and even the very existence of modern European nations could have been completely different. Imagine a world where the Huns, rather than fading into history, became the dominant force in Europe. The medieval feudal system may never have developed. The Holy Roman Empire, which shaped Europe for nearly 1,000 years, might never have existed. Instead, we could have seen a Hunnic empire stretching from the steppes of Asia to the Atlantic, blending Eastern and Western traditions into something entirely new. Would the Renaissance have ever happened, or would Europe have remained in a nomadic warrior culture for centuries? Would the great cathedrals and universities of the Middle Ages ever have been built? Perhaps the Mongols under Genghis Khan would have encountered a distant Hunnic descendant ruling over a vast empire, leading to an even more powerful Eurasian superpower. And what about modern national identities? Without Rome's lasting influence, France, Germany, and even England might not exist as we know them. The languages we speak, the religions we follow, and the governments we recognize could all be radically different. History is a series of fragile moments, and Attila stood at the center of one of its most pivotal crossroads. Had things gone differently, our world might be unrecognizable. What do you think? Would Attila's empire have lasted, or would it have crumbled like so many before? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic history breakdowns.